Oh, okay.
Can you plug this in?
Yeah. I think it's yeah. I think I'm good. But thank you.
It'll be quite a journey, but yeah.
I'll get your.
No problem.
Who? Also, like, I'll put my
Oh, I thought it was just.
No.
You should just fill out with your charger.
You know.
Yes. Like, so, there were even more people in it.
Whatever.
Excuse me.
I've been kind of trapped for like 2 hours now.
Who's that?
You can post it on high school.
I do have a new email for college, but I like that.
What is cat?
It was a birthday present from my dad in 5th grade. He bought me the domain catpad.com, so
That is a 360 camera, so everything you do is being recorded. Counts for all of you too. No one pick your nose. It's not right up in my mouth. Just no one pick your nose. Looking at you, normal. Just, I need your email.
DEB. Yeah, I sent it.
oh, that's right.
.NURPHY.
You could probably move that if you don't want it like right.
Probably speed it up.
Or you do the center of the decision.
Nah, that's a little intimidating. It's like, right, it's like I'm looking at it.
Can you even focus on the wrong part there? You probably put it like right there or something.
Believe me, I'm only trolling.
Oh, okay.
This is President Wally. Yeah, this is white.
Yeah, we got one here.
Yeah. I think you good.
Oh yeah.
Usually tied.
Eric.
Oh yeah.
You just watch my computer.
I've been in the show since Wednesday.
Why?
I don't have a good answer to that question.
So you were already here with the Pennsylvania thing happened?
I don't know what I'm for.
I don't know what you're talking about, but yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna go look into that. Then how can you confirm it?
Yeah, if you don't know what he's
Well,
saying.
like you seem like you knew, so.
Just a few days ago, Pennsylvania University, like a mile up the street, there was like a.
Oh yeah, okay, then I do know exactly what you're talking about. We may or may not have been. I don't know what the date was, but we flew in Wednesday night.
Why did you come in on Wednesday?
I don't know. We come here early every year.
I made us show up on Thursday, locked us in a room for like
Can I get
12
some paper
hours.
from somebody? I know I took like 8 billion pieces.
No, like I literally have 500 sheets of paper here. I have paper. I don't need like I don't need paper. Like,
That is perfect.
yeah.
You didn't show up on a good paper for the TSC?
I mean, you mean like cardstock?
Hard stock, legal paper? I don't know.
They have this paper at Staples, so you know how you have like this kind of paper? There's paper at Staples that's even bigger, so it's like that and that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's just unwieldily large.
Minute.
You can throw the whole round on one sheet.
But like, you can't like move it or like, just.
Yeah, I also print pre-flows, and it's like harder to do that if it's not just the regular format.
One of the old straight coaches uses really big sheets of paper and draws speech bubbles.
Yeah.
So you print pre-flows?
Yeah.
That's kind of smart.
I do that. I like that.
Anybody have another color pen? Like,
What color do you have?
I have black.
Right.
Okay.
I have a fun story, kind of like running free flows. Our sophomore year, my brother would bring scissors and glue to every tournament. He free flowed once at the beginning, cut the end of the paper off, and then just stick it to the first column of a new paper.
I appreciate that.
I mean, that's intuitive. Like
Every single time we traveled, we don't check back. Security be like, "You got scissors in here," and Connor would freak out. He'd be like, "They're under the limit. Like, get out your ruler. Like, we'll see." Every single time.
Isn't a flow double-sided though?
You gotta pay the safety scissors.
I don't have a good answer.
Wow, yeah, that's a great question.
Like you just erase.
Maybe he put the whole half on one side.
Some people
If
only
you
flow on
see
one side of the
Counterplan,
paper.
you would not be surprised.
Okay.
You have like a Taurus roll for all of your.
Different sheets for like.
That's a policy thing.
Yeah.
I don't think it makes sense. Like 3 cards.
Yeah.
I tried that my first time doing it. I thought I was gonna like separate it. Then I realized like I had like 3 pieces of paper with like 4 little lines.
Yeah, exactly.
And no one
It's
would
predictable,
make
like
sense.
exactly where it's at.
I don't want to kill him.
I just blow it all straight down.
Yeah, me too. I do that every time. I don't care. I'll figure it out.
For sure.
I usually skip the Excel thing and just blow a word down. The whole thing.
Just do a paragraph. I know somebody that fills in paragraphs.
Good way to agree.
Toya, she's the director at Counterplan. She fills in paragraphs.
Agree.
And she'll be able to tell you exactly
Like,
what
back
to
there,
do.
back
It's just like, that's just how her brain processes. I don't know.
Yeah.
I can do
Yeah, that would not be how my mind process.
Oh, I can't figure it out. I cannot
I need to
see.
see things next to each other, but
Oh, yeah, they.
yeah.
It looks so nice outside compared to the evil that was this morning.
Oh, this one was
It
terrible.
was ridiculous.
I have freezing right now because my sweater got so much water.
We could maybe open the window. It's probably slightly warmer outside. And then it's like really stuffy because there's alligators. Wait, can I ask you to open?
Yeah.
Is there a little more of that side of the table?
Oh, that's
That's
so
such a nice
nice.
breeze.
Not really. I think you can go in the closet.
We could also, I think there's one in the back if someone wants to open that.
There's a lot of it. Out of curiosity, is that live stream? Are
Yeah.
being watched by a bunch of people?
Oh, so I'm being watched right now.
How many people are watching?
5 viewers.
Yeah.
So realistically, the large majority of the audience is actually right behind you.
Yeah, probably. Like it's like noon on a Monday.
Also,
That's a great point.
no worries if it's not.
People got
Oh, there's like 5 kids and there's something.
yeah, like who are the people sitting in class and watching this?
Go back to work. One of the no worries.
Alright.
No, you can sit like worse behind Evan.
Or you can sit like right here. You don't have to walk on the here. Wait, not like 5 years. I don't know if it's right next to you. Or you can turn around.
I want you to turn around and tell me if you can sit right there. Rotate your head. No, other direction. A little more. There you go.
Yeah, sure.
Can you sit right there? We glad we
You can, but you have to face the camera.
There's so much stuff. What is that?
That's a 360 camera.
Could we put the 360 camera on the table and then you can sit underneath it
Why do you need a 360 camera for it?
so you can see the judge's reaction?
Someone gets the full experience.
Yeah, it's sick.
It's like one of those Facebook videos that like.
Okay, those are actually so sick.
Those Facebook videos?
Yeah, like 360 ones where you can like move your phone around.
What kind of scares me? Yeah.
Oh.
Marginal improvement. One thumbs
I
up.
knew that already.
7 people watching.
What could they have possibly had the thumbs up? Nothing is significant.
They don't- I'm just saying-
The computer just black out.
And
Maybe
now
they
it's
really like
right
the
there,
comments
right.
there.
No, it doesn't.
Incredibly distracting.
Yeah. Yes, I do. Mama, what are you working on?
AP physics.
Physics C?
More.
Yeah, I'm not sure who's back.
That's mine.
Oh,
Crowded.
It's quite crowded. Does not seem like an ideal room for an
No, it's not.
I mean,
I mean, it's more ideal when there was a bed right there.
There was a bed.
Yeah.
That's true.
There was like couches and stuff. They said crammed into a corner. I like the couch in the corner. It makes
Yeah.
I think they should have a couch.
You should look in the bathroom. All the like pillows and stuff. Stuff in the bathrooms. So,
How do they let people keep coming back after they just did
money.
yeah. Okay.
That's a good answer.
You are the winner.
Yeah. Body lounge.
They just messaged me. I dreamed I met such a sweet dog, and then when I woke up, I was sad.
Ari?
You have
Wait, did you send the app?
Yep.
No.
I just can't write.
You know about stuff.
Okay, I'm ready when you are.
Everybody else good? When you open the docs, then yeah. I'm gonna say black.
Wait,
Not
can
a
I
race
be
thing. I just don't want to be red.
Yeah. You got that. Okay.
Thank you.
That new color is the last one.
Wait, then I have to look at purple.
Too late.
Well, he didn't have that.
Yeah, no, that's
I have green or blue.
no.
Let's start.
All right, I'm ready. Yeah.
Part 1, the new plantation. The NCAA runs the 21st century plantation. Black Hawks document the position of microlabels with the war homes for every city by all the hospital. Got like 7 years for further working. I become disposable institutions. Bringing in Hawkins 13. Back to these years. Middle states back to the hospital ship. With the university college civil by college microlabels. Like my civil immigration acceptance. Experience like you saw. I can perform so that's a little bit white. That's the year in the community for self against on 9 direction on professional that's 3% of reserve space microlabel after people calls it for which will track all black officer over to the community social cultural. That's what 7 college university to be able to say it's just equivalent to that little labor law like community self law. So also I kept the double conscious deal. I said every time I just product needs to be every now at these beautiful persons the rehabilitation. Black athletes value on campus assumed by history of colonialism. Mark black bodies just physically superior but intellectually inferior. These stereotypes under black athletes invisible make them say internalized self-doubting. So regarding their member presence on campus van reading 13 the institutions all about like athletes want to this this market black students here. Let's see what it's fortunate. I'm still university. This is what Robert says what is about immigration here. This is about racial civil individual is supposed to have people on the athlete. I didn't have able to read visible good as a house of example. Or revision perception feelings with my fire African make up what's the issues to just support racial activity intellectual and it's superior to their racial activity this is just division individual but you might know black and white in 18 black this year but other never suppression black is finding not Q by white supremacy hate sick 15 black the little figure all accountable but not after 80% of white supremacy but certainly when it's the hierarchies about but even with the racial categories of black says to the end into the city which is the percent of the big Christian city what is part of the produce a consequence will make illusion about running over outside of the future conclusion on the challenge part 2 was restrictions on speech movements against the NCAA are growing in power the traditional defense of the guarantee the NCAA guard control or being crack branch 15 public support of the NCAA just a kind of mission preventing with the blacks which you know to think of the lawmakers just in video advanced legal recourse for pressure space or disclosed president to those who festival weapon calls at the about to confident that the NCAA require more authority over admissions in pursuit of better publicity. Universities and coaches institute speech codes and social media bans to control the image of their sport. Tarnelli 16 the people going to social media political controversy that's just going cultures athletic programs or student speech on social media levels administration students just I get the free special there they said scholarship the professor of the college university speech with the risk of I think we still talking about students embarrassing and these policies lack any constitutional backing or more censorship coming. The NCAA has pushed schools to censor my speech over the last 5 years in order to save it dying for a gay 11 players always be I'm going to choose to mess with what you're going to such students and to the 7 days you saw talking to so possible achieve on all fields to specify a country speech schools speech by students people already rather than I am and also restrictions to be sure of the NCAA scrutiny. Thus the plan of public college universities in the United States unrestricted any constitution benefit student athlete speech. Part 3 is solvency decolonization requires speech shutdown reformed universities are easily whitewashed and assimilated into existence racist instruction, colonialism, armed racist free speeches, a recognition that without their own voice, athletes will remain a whim to the administrators Hawkins 13. The struggle of black emancipation, the colonial rule, struggle of voice, and democratic the spirit of the black power movement, the monumental efforts to urge the efforts to provide political and racial representation equate to all having political voices, social backlash, quality by source, the social representation, especially important cultural back ethnicity, capital institutions, right at the palace. Social media gives athletes all ample opportunity. Charles Juice, Missouri, and other examples prove athletes need to use their platforms. Epstein 16, Shepard's the beer, told the workers, what's best starting in NCAA, press for the election, for regular round middle schools, offering solutions to cover the influential, that's the university of the college, strictly to death, media charges in France, social media, special media, social media parts voice on any national data changes that NCAA restrictions are based on the need to depoliticize athletes in order to preserve colorblind the sport data based on passion of racial progress using the platform of sports ruptures the white mythology empowers black students. Henderson 09 white places talking hard negatively parts of the there's something there is something about rapid approach to value wrong a team supporting additional aim capacity with this struggles with overtake let's just talk about sporting interviewing a company to represent Russia waiting for us nobody gets people athletes were able to play the game but a lot of success so across the line like it's showing just the attitude that's but retribution for the actual sporting directions with the NCAA sports approach for some environments to the interesting sense that's going across the line in part for framing our discussion about race will and inevitably people come to such things as safe for discussion about race people something supposed to know about no matter what the discussion the only question is whether the safe space of white enormous disability lean out reporter 10 a parts of the racial and safe for what's for a race to detect why white sports for everyone to get here and comfortable agree from solid hostile environment to make these this minimal system discussion rate students are looking to over all standard was really more specific as if you look for parts of the but it's I'm not sure is to continue and we should reject notion normative colorblind distractions Helio for one is special normative classes not to their perceptions social messages video voice is zero so much you should have to say institution baseball unless there's normative white takes upon that the composition race the system on there quality let's see social flow quality which seems having benefit of circle finish blacks and understanding debate is a game refined suppressive power structure framing a debate can only occur more debatable deep say conversation we have shooter for a deep control controlling debate only something for the we never challenge for a large folks control the outcomes the ideology they against themselves people that are supposed to be and consult to teach their own limitation.
Okay, you got everything?
Everything.
Alright, cool. When you're good.
Give me like a second.
Okay. How do we avoid treating debate as a game?
The Schnurr evidence indicates that the idea of debate as a game of something that is.
Or no, I understand that debate as a game is a bad thing, but how do we avoid those kind of things?
Well, the argument is that we should affirm sort of a debate as a place where important dialogues can take place.
What
And
qualifies as important dialogue?
our Leonardo and Porter evidence says discussions of sort of racism in the context of academia is sort of crucial to fracturing myths of
Okay,
colorblindness.
so the only way in which we would treat debate as a game would be an issue in which we're not debating.
Not necessarily.
Okay, so how else do we treat debate as a game?
So I think arguments that are sort of based only on the idea of a win and loss that have no sort of
How do we distinguish if an argument is based on?
so that have no sort of productive function outside of just the ballot. So, for example, arguments that are consist of debates about philosophy that have happened for centuries that will no longer will not come to any massive upheaval or conclusion.
Okay, are we going to come to a massive upheaval when we affirm?
Our argument in the Leonardo Report evidence says that
Wait,
every
why are we going to
discussion,
come to a massive upheaval?
every discussion is itself valuable, which
Okay.
is reason to
So-
affirm. Not every discussion about any given
Wait,
aspect of
why
philosophy
is talking about issues a reason to affirm?
It's not just literally talking about issues. Our Leonardo Report evidence says that the way in which the app ruptures the idea that spaces are colorblind, there's no such thing as racism.
Wait,
Within this space is
so
uniquely
we
good.
should vote half because you say that racism exists?
No, we should vote
Okay.
half because the plan is a good idea.
Okay, cool.
A
So if the plan
benefit.
is a bad idea, we should vote negative.
Yeah, if you prove
Okay,
the
if
app
I
is
prove
bad,
that
you should vote next.
If I prove the app plan is bad, we vote negative.
Well, yeah, obviously.
Okay, cool. So let's talk about, so where do you prove that social media bans are unconstitutional?
The gay evidence says, quote, schools have banned public using social media.
possibility by increasing the motivation to discern schools which avoid negative attention, only such student athletes. Blah, blah, blah.
Wait, no, you're just for social media bans. Where do you prove that kind of speech? That
They
kind
have
of speech
strong-
is unconstitutional.
They have strong interest in supporting policies that achieve on-field results at the expense of constitutionally protected student speech.
Okay, so what's the rationale? for why it's constitutional?
Our argument is that they have a right
Okay.
to free speech as a result of
I
being
want, do you define an intentional or accidental reading?
I have no idea what that means.
Okay, so an intentional reading would mean that the advocacy would change in tandem with the Constitution, and an accidental reading would say that you just defend the current set of constitutional rights.
I still have no idea what that means.
Like, if the Constitution changes, does the app change? Like, if what is constitutionally protected changes, would the app advocacy protect the new constitutional protections?
Well, wait,
So, like, for example, like,
hold
if
on. The Constitution doesn't change as a result
or
of
like,
the app.
if the
We
okay.
fiat that public
No, I
college
understand
universities
that. I understand
should
the app
not
isn't. I
censor
understand
speech.
that the app is not changing the Constitution. I understand that the app is not changing the Constitution. But, like, for example, if there was some sort of amendment in which a certain kind of speech that was not protected before becomes protected, would you then extend protection to that form of speech?
I mean, I don't think the app takes a stance on what happens
Okay.
in the future post-plan. I
Wait,
think
so
durable
the plan-
fiat means that we would be allowed to, like, fiat that whatever changes would change. I think you have to
Okay,
win
wait, I just,
arguments that there's
I
like
think
a
it's fair-
constitutional change happening.
Okay.
I don't think it's
but-
reasonable
okay,
for me
wait,
to be
wait.
like, regardless of what
I'm not
happens in the
gonna read- I'm
Constitution
not
in the
gonna
future, I'll modify the app. That's like
No,
nonsense.
I'm not saying that it would be unfair if you did that. I'm just saying, like, I want your advocacy to defend that it will change with the Constitution. I'm not saying, like, there will be a huge constitutional change, but just, like, the app advocacy is deference to what the Constitution wants.
I guess, why do you want that?
Because, like, I think it would be unfair if you did it.
All right.
Is everyone okay with arguments about sexual violence?
Yep.
Wait, sorry, I like have all the stuff in one document, but my computer's freezing, so I can't save it. Can I stop forever? Like,
Yeah,
it's just
yeah.
not.
2 minutes?
Yeah. Okay, second.
Order?
3 off case. You can start with, there'll be an overview on case, and then.
Okay.
Well, let me know when you're done with it.
I'm good.
A is the counterplan text. Public colleges and universities in the United States ought to eliminate any athlete who has specific speech policies. B, it's mutually exclusive. Thereof gives total free speech to athletes. The counterplan just gives them the same amount of free speech as everyone else does. Can be student benefits. He sells 100% of the ample weight. There's currently evidence that student athletes cannot criticize institutional order. Students cannot under the counterplan athletes criticize colleges while subject to the same restrictions as others do. When you say that schools get away with arrangements because they can differentiate policies, student athletes represent the school absent that unfair policies cannot be justified. The app creates a free speech exception for college athletes where they can say what they want while everyone else follows rules and protecting the mindset that everyone's rules do not apply to star athletes. This preferential treatment normalizes violence and harms athletes. GST 15. We see in the media on a regular basis of culture and all days never fail the athlete receive preferential treatment kids still review of their future into or the big percent famous with behavior something kids can and interferes with the responsibility for athletes get away with violence or bullying and preferential treatment ruins athletes' lives and prevents valuable relationship. The app ignores long-term consequences. GST 15 is a more relation to more healthy and typical people that get away with something an athlete 1 or 2. There's cultural archetype of the job reproduces artificial divisions. This double standard where athletes are denied the status of students creates a unique colonial exploitation and institutional corruption. New 17 Baylor's Board of Regents has the person to resign of allegations they covered up sexual assault of football. Oregon was a whole Twitch report to discontent dispute. The university's athletic director informed about a player or staff member attempted to dump the victim out of pressing charges through. Reportedly, some of Penn State included offering favorable treatment to athletes accused of violence people. Players were led to believe there were special rules also linked to your office use of institutional corruption honors for your own evidence intimately connected with the colonial exploitation. Also, B-point the preferential treatment mainly just applies to white athletes. For example, Rob Turner who said in sexual assault cases, people will think that the white defendant is more likely innocent now. Next up. You have not worked out your framework's implications. Society is too permeated by insidious injustice to trust even while research on terror solutions. We need reliable reasoning procedures. 1. 7. Pragmatism is developed. PewDiePie doing offers horrible resources for redefining African American politics. Pragmatism must be more complex to experiment with possibilities to embrace pragmatism is to hold bathing capacities for ordinary people to transform circumstantial elements of free society. Uneroded political leaders like God to justify their destruction. We see incarceration poverty. When we stop talking, we see democratic life to those who would destroy it. We hold accountable understanding democracy is way less than ethical disposition to open debate. The uncertainty of your case is the starting point of my standard. It's consistency with doing procedures of deliberation. My thesis is that we cannot just look at if the app is a good idea. We first need to assess what questions we trust universities to ask and how we want them to answer those questions. There may be something to an anti-capitalist revolution, but in New York should be commoditized. Non-experimental approaches like Soviet Union cannot be trusted now. The issue of speech is complex. We can't have armchair deliberation even with really great research. Find truth as epistemic humility and support for the principles of education require diverse experimentation with approaches to speech regulation. Pause. 16 speech codes are designed to enhance discussion to radically different backgrounds are thrown. You can refer to speech in terms of taking unfamiliar ideas seriously. The impossible basis of free speech is humility. Since we cannot be confident, we need to debate it, but we don't know the best rules for those debates. University should be allowed to experiment. Free speech is a means to an end. Our understanding must be derived from the amnesty to issue education rates and students' demands for limitation of speech fullness because free speech is on both sides of the issue. Arguing students be free to demand speech restrictions as long as universities refuse to submit as a cop. That's a cop out. Your right to speech is that behind looking up argues to restrict speech will interfere with education. The only way to know if they are right or wrong is slow. Universities should try different approaches. Can use evidence to determine which approach is best. It means you prefer the counterplan and involves a plurality of policies to relate to student athletes across institutions. Instead, I turn the FA point. Implemental restrictions are multiple reach consensus by experimentation and realize that needed qualifications be like the equity universal one like speech of those multiple restrictions for rendering the absolute you have the ability for athletes to advocate for things like restrictions on other athletes being better flash to sporting events or rights issue and southern school rivals degrees and that links to the standard pragmatic institutional change requires open-ended experimentation. Rules intent. Encouraging social reform demands institutional transformation, limiting the paradigm requires transformation, transformation, experimentation with policy, instrumenting, and parallel to practices, experimental inquiry, empathy, non-ideal also gives me the strongest link to the non-ideal sample considerations of the app. Your generalized judgments fail to recognize a point racial, radical inadequacy of current synthesized evidence to draw policy conclusions. Viewpoint, the particularity of experience with racism that demand particular solutions, and the double-standard arguments under the counterplan are offense under pragmatism. Doing equality is democratic freedom. All individuals are entitled to equal treatment. Each suspected equality by institutions has equal right to express judgment. Every authoritarian scheme value may be a similar principle than the position in the social scheme. Now, next up. The counterplan avoids a constitutional deference to use. The Constitution didn't decide appropriate free speech protections despite none of your evidence suggesting first amendment should be the limits test. Be skeptical of new app articulations. That's a key Sullivan link that the app is missing. And you defend an intentional reading of freedom of speech. You literally change what free speech you give student athletes based on poor interpretation of the First Amendment. That CS concession means that you lose. This constitutional deference makes your app not a reliable locus for combating oppression. Henderson 91. Law is a tool powerful and able to capture authoritarian purposes of preservation of authority to overlook law's tendencies to oppression. Much of constitutional jurisprudence of the 80s
just your own thing, or was it like a car trying to run you down?
Jonas, can you try to get this in there?
It's already going.
Yeah.
This is live broadcasting to your website.
Yeah. No.
I mean, it all has to.
No, it's this way. Sorry.
Everybody. Thanks, Jonas. Where did they put the live stream? Laptop. Sorry.
So also, like, I obviously made analytics on case in addition.
Left.
Are you reading anything new?
Yeah, I'm sending it.
Are you compiling?
Actually, I mean, my own all my classes. But had I had it, nothing had it.
It'll be the case. I think the order of the doc is. Yeah. Case, counterplan, the Dewey NC, the K type dealio thing, and the Henderson trick.
Use the order sheet.
Good.
The NCAA model of college sports specialties balance one of those were black athletes on school coaches and junior specialists, multiple shooters disposable, even if scholarships athletes can afford to eat and live. The one that was administration name for the races amidst the back and inferior to just by national organization and aliens athletes on campus and ensuring the academic affiliate role with the app is one. And recognition of the voice which I keep supporting point the economic sports creating political power and political voice on athletes you or register as inferior to the social society two visual structure be out ultra athletes because of financial leverage they have over our universities appear slow after bears which has made Missouri prove that's I've seen evidence the case always into their packs races with central campus civil society sports social with the schools like and powers because we stop the rest of you do unionization control the internally too the latest market see it's anti-blackness is the reason that legalism has constructed the way in which it is there are specific case arguments. First, the framing issue here should be there's a lot of analytics. We've read quality evidence that you should read after the round and then decide for yourself if any of their analytic arguments actually answer the say that the Walsh evidence at the top they say that anti-civil is a private action of black people anyway are evidence we recognize black voices regardless of whether or not they get which disrupting myth of coloniality myth of colonization it's visual resolve our impacts they say they say this job is there's a sort of negative idea, but no argument is that the idea the app specifically unique because they're in a position of power in the way that they're treated with double standard, which impacts the counterplan. They say that right now they're already cracking down. There's sort of the gay 11 evidence argument is that they have been increasing restrictions the last couple of years, but the legitimacy of the organization is following. You need one last final push, Mr. Hawkins' evidence. Although the rest of the arguments are largely defensive and entirely analytic, which proves you should rate our evidence and compare evidence is strictly better than their garbage analytics. The counterplan, the idea that their impact exists everyone on campus. They're all the evidence about people getting special treatment in the context of sexual assault cases. That happens to white people all the time, but they choose to single out black athletes for punishment. Their cases of black men as hypersexual criminals are it's a part of large systemic qualification calls for Western black men sexual opinions. Of course, various DVDs black men allegedly say as black men black men these are as precious women the time cause of black men as precious just with the better masculinity reject the criminalizing approach who always get reverse enforce columns of 5 black men body system plus fear or and then you just all black men specific criminal activity where there was as black youth spent one male authority using athletes on the social with the army representatives are African American growing youth seems to as African American universal and it's dangerous and they say that their argument is we give black people like special status. Obviously, that's so terrible. Evidence says that black athletes are literally starving. They go to bed hungry, but they say, if you give them free speech, they'll have preferential treatment. It's not what any of their cards are in the context of, which proves we impact on the counterplan. Even if it is true that some white people get sized as preferential treatment, that's not unique, which proves the case is key there. The Dewey evidence, they're a model of Dewey and democracy, anti-progressive, taking black the myth of citizenship, arguments of Dewey's politics, the myth of colorblindness, not organized colonial side of things, democracy, current 15, black is using each of the racial, the research for himself, the black people, the insert contrast, the judicial progressive, John Dewey's practice, well, back in Mexico, you will read the mention of the negative, recusing all problems of what is secretly like y'all, often so guard through never allowed to the record status, for the end episode of pure victory and native Christians, made to the deep sense of all the black culture, discussion means, or say no, may grace, the most other most security, the understood the videos written there, so treated the blacks and not even their guys, who can use now for us here, as one occasion by citizens and black people, never about the myth of democracy, and it's built on cold ideals later, don't work for black people, current 15, and it's just that just trying to work for no concept of people country there, with this situation, understand the positive, government, other people that seem to us, some great people that you're across the production for we still able to so many depend on the sort of shit like myself for blackness and this is a voting issue. Our Healy evidence says that the concept of normativity are purposely constructed to order the world into a constant like reproduce material bonds that was all their offense, legalism, critique. We recognize the NCAA and that the Congress are a Supreme Court are unethical with the athletes to make the demands on the state like Jews and Jeff Code black recognize US was terribly and still demanded things like anti-lynching laws and negative state action where rippling existing laws not having towards good hope in the law. They're double alternative theory evidence is that democracy is right, valuable, and political struggles inevitable at some point. Everybody says movement is also key to a step which you like violence is required to judgment. It's only a chance to plan to see the long-term overhaul of the system spans 15. Everybody republics was good as they recognize the telephone, whoever lost the stressful back, or just recognize the person, the legislators.
Okay, can you delete read it or you can resend the doc? Thank you.
The last part, Mark.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see.
Yes.
Did you resend it?
Hey, I'm sitting in the debate right now. Hello? Huh? What? I'm just in the debate with TOC. I can't put my time sheet in right now. As soon as this round is over, I'll do my time sheet. Just give me like it's like 2 hours. Like, give me a little bit, like at least like 20 minutes. Yes, I'll give my hours. Just give me like 20. I'm gonna fill out my account. All right, I got you. All right, bye-bye. Sorry.
No worries.
It's a bit.
Sorry.
All 6 people watching.
Oh, geez, my bad. My bad.
Wait, is the argument that Dewey is bad because he erases and focuses on history?
No, the argument is, well, that is like one of them, but the larger argument is that the idea that sort of procedures are valuable in the abstract ignores the fact that when they are implemented in the real world, they are always exclusionary. So for example, if everyone has a procedural right to show up at a town hall to like, I don't know, like protest gentrification, obviously the white people always win in that situation. Or procedurally, if homeless people have a right to protest, like putting spikes on their overpasses, they show up to a town hall, they'll immediately get kicked out, which is what we critique of your sort of focus on procedural rules of democracy.
Okay, that's fine. I will read my things so I'm sorry.
Obviously, like other arguments, but that's
Yeah, I got you.
the first evidence.
Okay, let me know if you have it.
Good.
Okay, the order will be an overview. You can flow it at the top of the counterplan, but so like you can flow it wherever. Let's see how the round breaks down. And then counterplan, second off, third off. All right, ready? All right, when everyone's good.
I'm good, man.
I'm good now.
The entirety of the 1 year says things like it's important to include black voices and that we should not silence people and that we should give people the freedom to challenge institutions, and then concedes like 6 case turns about how they do not give people the freedom to challenge institutions, about how they do not give the freedom to they do not give the freedom to be included, which means that the entirety of the 1 year is just extending impact weighing, but it's not extending links. You also literally conceded terminal defense to case which you have taken, which you try to take out with an impact, which is incoherent. You have to extend a single argument as to why the app is preferable to the counterplan that you don't do. You also screw up and just answer on legalism. I did not say that engagement of the state is a bad thing. You cannot just pull up your 1 year blocks when you hear the word that when you hear me discuss how certain types of laws are oppressive. No, the entire argument for the legalism is that deference to legal norms is a bad thing, not that it is bad to engage with the state, which means you have conceded that you are just a top-down reform that never enables black individuals to challenge the way in which institutions are structured, which is definitely going to outweigh the entirety of the case. Actually, first go to case. Oops, you conceded cross-ex is binding and that if I prove that the app is a bad idea, you vote negative, which means that you don't have the jurisdiction to vote on any sort of performative argument. Also, you should not 2-point any performative argument takes away from discussing the benefits or harms of a concrete action that could actually alleviate material conditions, which means also 3-point, you are an abstraction away from material conditions that are faced by black individuals on college campuses by just trying to make a certain way of engaging the debate not a possibility, which increases argumentative experimentation. Also, 4-point, the cloud evidence is written by a black author who has a specific theory of the way in which we can restructure democracy to be more inclusive, which means that you silence black authors and say that we should not include a variety of views about race in the debate space, which is definitely a bad thing, and if performative contradictions should matter, which they shouldn't, you should definitely be voting down for just dismissing black scholarship on the issue. Now, go to the counterplan. Extending counterplan to public colleges and universities in the U.S. not to eliminate any athlete-specific speech policies. You misunderstand the counterplan. I am not saying that it's bad to give black athletes preferential treatment. Rather, I am saying that it's bad to give athletes preferential treatment because it will never be given to black athletes. It will just increase the divisions within the athlete community between black and white athletes. So, empirically proven differential institution treatment does not apply to black college athletes as much as it does to white athletes. Comal 11, Comal and Harrison reveal differences between D1 white and black student athletes. Faculty who provide help and goals were positively associated with white student athletes. Academic successes were not significant for black student athletes, and preferential treatment only is given to white athletes. The Brock Turner case illuminates that black athletes do not get the same preferential institutional treatment. No, in 16, Brock Turner received a 6-month sentence. Banks, black football player Banks received more than 5 years. Demonstrates deeply entrenched racism and sentencing. Beating a black student received 15 to 25 years. You've also conceded lots of weighing as to why I take out your off extend the Van Rehen card about how this links directly to the concrete form of exploitation outlined. Your evidence is specific as long as there are double standards. The problem will perpetuate itself. That always the A-point is the internal warrant for all of your cases. You say that it is bad to create a barrier and say that student athletes are different than non-student athletes because that will just create further barriers that prioritize white athletes each above others, which leads to further fracturing, which is not laboratory. Also, 2-point always of magnitude since you enable things like sexual. Also, 2-point you enable things like sexual violence. You it's a linear dissent that says that when you create institutional reasons why certain athletes will have preferential treatment above others, that is a bad thing, which means your arguments are not responsive. You just completely misunderstand the argument that I am making now. I will kick out of the pragmatism argument crossed by the reasons why this should not be a voter, but also the Curry 15 arguments misunderstands since Clause 7 says that we should look at the contents of a specific the context of a specific problem rather than a generalized understanding. That context is simply super influential, which takes it out. Also, 2-point Clause 7 says that we should look at history that shapes reality, which means that I'm not abstract. Now go to the constitutional deference argument. Extend that the counterplan avoids constitutional deference. You use the Constitution to decide appropriate free speech protections despite none of your evidence suggesting First Amendment should be the limit. Test be skeptical. You conceded that you don't get new alpha articulations about the dissent. Henderson 91. The constitutional deference makes your alpha an unreliable locus for combating oppression. I am kicking out of the Dewey argument, which means that it doesn't matter. It's a double term, but also 2-point. It's not a double term. It says that it literally leads to authoritarianism. Authoritarianism outweighs everything. 3-point. A point on magnitude prevents us from ever having institutional change in which people can be represented. Be put out reversibility. Authoritarianism means that we cannot change and challenge or restructure systems so they're more representative. Also, C-point means that there will be more racist policies that re-entrench divisions between individuals. It means that it controls internally to all of your alpha arguments. Also, D-point authoritarianism means that we can never have any future policy that is effective now on the line by line of arguments, which definitely do not apply. Never do not enable any new two-way argument, new two-way articulations. We say that you recognize the NC is unethical, but Black manipulation demands that the state know that you should not defer to the Constitution to determine what is good. You say negative state action that also doesn't answer this. You said safety that political struggle is inevitable, but no, you don't have to use the Constitution as a reference point. That also, that you conceded on link terms here analysis about our top-down solutions, filtering constitutional jurisprudence is top-down. Now, in the case. You have conceded the Shaw 12 argument about how the app is more top-down than egg. Squad speech restrictions applied to athletes are shaped by student movements that always case they put and always on magnitudes individuals, since it's the only way in which individuals can actually structure institutions be one. It's the only way to give them a voice about the way in which they should be engaged in political processes, which always on longevity and magnitudes in ways influences how they will be able to engage in any sort of structure in the first place. Also, see point out wasted is a voice into like the one here just says that the app is a recognition of their voices, but it does not matter if they have a voice that is not listened to. You have also conceded that Black voices will be structurally excluded from any system unless they are able to convince institutions to reject them, which means that I also outweigh on magnitude since I magnify Black voices, which definitely always the app. Also, you've conceded terminal defense to case I do not know how you extend a single piece of offense to the one of you have conceded emotional level that NCAA is a private actor and is not subject to the First Amendment. You just make a response that you recognize how Black voices are important. No, you have conceded that the case and your advocacy literally do nothing, which means that the constitutional deference arguments definitely outweigh since also you conceded emotional level and speech restrictions like voices. And athlete use of Twitter are content neutral, which means that they are constitutional, which means that colleges still have the authority to make restrictions on their use of social media, but the app re-legitimizes the state. Look, the round breaks down very, very clearly, and CIC said that it's a question of advocacy. The app just defers to legal norms, which prevents people from actually being tangibly included. You have conceded that the only way in which people can be engaged in institutions is if they can be engaged on a ground level, which means they have to reform, which means that we cannot look to the legalistic approach of the app.
It'll be the case, the counterplan, the Henderson stuff. Everyone good? The 2NR makes a lot of bold claims, but doesn't address much of the substance. The affirmative argument is that allowing people to speak out is good because it allows them to represent where they're seen as intellectually inferior, but physically superior, which is only resolved when they're able to recognize their voices. You want to see make forces colleges to say we respect you in some way, shape, or form, even if it is true that they get rolled back a little later. The 1AR said that it's still valuable and they recognize this sort of myth and rupture, that kind of thing. All of these arguments were conceded in the 1AR. We explicitly answered all of their Walsh evidence and said that it does not matter if it gets rolled back by a private organization later. It's a question of recognition up front, which was conceded. The second Walsh evidence cites one example where they're content neutral. RK evidence says that the vast majority of censorship is not that. You should prefer evidence. The 1AR told you to take a high bar to all of their garbage arguments and evidence, and you should do that now. Read RK evidence. You tell me what you think. The 1AC is still a good idea. They say that their voices don't matter if they're not listened to. Our arguments directly answer that. The Henderson evidence at the bottom of the case says it's not a question of white people recognizing us. It's a question of us being able to speak out, which is the only way in which we can rupture that myth, which was largely conceded in the last speech. Means we win the case debate. The last argument is this a silly perfect argument. We don't disregard Black scholarship. Our argument is that Dewey is fundamentally anti-Black, and that just because you've carded your Black friend who said it isn't doesn't mean that we've disregarded all Black scholarship. Our argument is fundamentally the body of literature is bad, not the fact that one Black dude wrote about it is bad, which it's not an issue. Also, doesn't make any sense in the context because we haven't disregarded out of hand. We've read arguments that answer it, which is ridiculous. The counterplan first. The framing issue in the counterplan was conceded in the last speech that none of their evidence is about distinctions between black people and white people, or about distinctions between athletes and anything else. And it talks about how, in the context of sexual assault cases, white athletes get a preferential treatment, which the counterplan does not solve. And we have read plenty of impact charts. That first, that there's non-unique, which proves that there's no reason to go negative, because the counterplan cannot fundamentally solve that. That happens everywhere on campus, not just in the context of athletes being preferential treatment is not unique people. And they consider the Collins evidence is that sexualization of black males, the idea that all of our sexual predators is one that perpetuates the colorblindness proves a case solvency. Lastly, they consider the impact term that says that the idea that preferential treatment is something that is bad is one that is fundamentally anti-black. They're literally starving now, and the case says, oh, but white people get preferential treatment, so we shouldn't do the app. Our argument is that that happens anyway, which means the app is key to at least trying to help some black people out. Both of the evidence about how white people get preferential treatment is not responsive. Our argument is that we acknowledge that it happens everywhere. It's not unique. The Van Reed evidence about double standards was already answered. Our Hatig evidence was extending the overview of the case that says it outweighs this argument. The reason that these divisions are bad, the reason that double standards are bad, is because of the myth of colorblindness that is perpetuated in society, which was Hatig evidence, which was extended in the overview, so thrown to the counterplan. They've lost that debate. Lastly, is the Henderson evidence. We are a negative state action, which means we repurpose the Constitution for good ends. We acknowledge black voices, which is crucial. They say that we shouldn't defer to the Constitution. Our argument is that we can use it strategically. Example is lynch laws, etc., which means the Constitution can have some stable points.